Okay, and welcome to episode 10 of the FilmCast. I am Aiden Lorenzo. If this is your first time joining me, I'd highly recommend subscribing for more content. I upload every Thursday at noon, or at least I go live every Thursday at noon, and it'd be cool if I got, more people watching me. But the audience I have is already good enough. But let's get right into today's reviews, starting off with a very recent movie that came out last week. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I of course am referring to Violent Night, a Christmas movie starring David Harbour as Santa Claus. The film's plot fo- film's pla- the film's plot follows Santa, played by David Harbour, as he gets caught in between a hostage situation between a very rich family and a group of mercenaries seeking $300 million. Does the plot obviously sound like Die Hard? Yes. However, don't be however, the film is a lot, and I really do mean a lot of fun. Particularly the action scenes where David Harbour is just beating the absolute crap out of people. The kills are very inventive and Christmassy. Plus, he uses a sledgehammer to take multiple people out in a shed. Like, come on now. That he used that thing like a samurai sword. Adding into that, David Harbour does a really great job portraying Santa Claus. Although I would like to see more, Santa-isms instead of David Harbour-isms. Now, not saying that David Harbour isn't isn't a good actor, but it'd be a little better if he, put more Santa into it. And his and the villain is played by John Leguizamo, a very versatile actor who can pretty much do almost anything. And while he does the best with what he could, his villain is honestly pretty weak. Like obviously, like I said, Leguizamo gives it the best that he could, but the writing for him just honestly feels iffy at best. Also, I have to admit I wasn't exactly the biggest fan of the the subplot with the family. While it did kind of give it some heart, it also just made the family, just bland and not very likable. However, that's not to say that this movie is not a good movie. Far on the contrary, actually. It's a very fun Christmas movie that combines the plot of Die Hard with the main character of Bad Santa and the comedic yet also kind of brutal violence of something like Home Alone or John Wick. And yeah, overall, I'd highly recommend checking this movie out while you can, and maybe even making it into your Christmas rotation. So yeah, that's Violent Night. I I really liked it, and I think it'll be a Christmas classic in the making. And if Universal and David Harbour decide to make a follow up, I wouldn't mind that, just as long as they don't repeat the same formula from the first film. So yeah, that was Violent Night. And now onto the next review, which is a review of something that I haven't previously mentioned in the past episode or two. However, I felt it was, kind of important to, but I felt that I needed a second review to make the episode longer, so I might as well just check. So I might as well talk about this. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, I am going to be talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Because if one Christmas related project wasn't enough, I decided to watch another one yesterday on Disney Plus. Now, the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special follows Mantis and Drax, played by Pom Klementieff and Dave Bautista respectively, as they try to cheer Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt, up for Christmas. And how do they do that? By kidnapping Kevin Bacon. Because what says Christmassy fun more than kidnapping and human trafficking? Yeah. Now, Marvel has honestly been on kind of a slump when it comes to some of their movies and TV shows. Like, as much praise as I directed towards Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it wasn't a perfect movie. And the less said about some of the TV shows, the better. But I can admit that their special presentations are honestly really good. I did like the first one that they did, Werewolf by Night, which was insanely creative. And this one was no different either. It was very charming. Mantis and Drax were really, really fun to watch. They had great chemistry, and especially from they had great chemistry, especially carrying on from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where this time Mantis is kind of the straight person, and Drax is more of the brutish goofball-y type. Oh, and also Kevin Bacon is in the movie, as I mentioned earlier, and it's just really fun to see him just, kind of make fun of himself and ham it up because, well, it's a Christmas special. And since it's a Christmas special, it also has two things: music and original music from a band that I'm assuming only James Gunn knows, and a good amount of heart, particularly regarding Peter's love for Christmas. And the ending does have a nice little twist where, okay, I'm about to reveal some spoilers, so if you don't want the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special spoiled, I suggest you turn off this video right now. But with that being said, here we go. Mantis is actually Peter Quill's sister. Yup. Bet you didn't see that coming now, did you? But regardless of the twist, it was still a fun little Christmas special that did what it needed and didn't have to last, 2.5 hours. Unlike any other Marvel movies that I know. Anyways, overall, Marvel should really keep doing these little special presentations with their properties, and especially on Disney Plus. Like like I said, these special presentations are really good, and they are much better than some of the TV shows that they've been pumping out lately. I'm looking at you, She-Hulk and Miss Marvel. Anyways, speaking of superheroes, I'm going to be talking about something that I already talked about, about a month or two ago. But but since it's coming up in the news more often, I think it's time that I'd just mention it for the hell of it. And I'm going to be rediscussing Black Adam. Now, if you watched one of my previous episodes, you'll know that I, of course, reviewed it and thought it was okay at best. However, it is set to be losing Warner Brothers a considerable amount of money. Now, why Why do I say that? Well, it is reported that the film will lose Warner Brothers between 50 and $100 million. Why is that? Well, the film had a budget between 195 and $200 million, and it only grossed about 384 million worldwide. While that's well, that would be good. Well, that would be pretty good numbers for a film for a film of a lesser budget. This is a near $200 million cost film starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson, one of the one of the biggest celebrities in Hollywood right now. It's a DC film. It probably had it probably had about hundreds of millions of dollars spent on marketing and visual effects and all that jazz. And the break even point was $600 million. And it failed to make and it made just over half of it. In other words, they just caught themselves in a major, major pickle. They could probably recoup some of the costs when the film eventually makes it onto Blu-ray and HBO Max and digital. But still, this is not exactly a good look for Warner Brothers or DC, especially considering that they recently hired James Gunn, the direct especially considering that they hired James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, to head up DC's film division. And speaking of DC, they also recently canceled the third Wonder Woman movie, which was in development. And the most that I can say about that is, eh, Wonder Woman 1984 was not very good. And as much as I liked the first one, I would not be so sure about a third one, especially after the disastrous results of the second of Wonder Woman 1984. And it seems that DC is very is starting to slip out of the Snyderverse, which was started by, of course, Man of Steel, and lasted till I want to say like Wonder Woman 1984 was actually no, damn it. Anyway, so the Snyderverse basically lasted from Man of Steel all the way up to Snyder's cut of the Justice League, and it's been turbulent to say the least, but at least he tried. And it looks like it looks like they're trying to slip away from the Snyderverse formula. As I mentioned, they canned Wonder Woman. They canceled the third Wonder Woman movie. They all and despite recently bringing back Henry Cavill for a possible Man of Steel sequel, honestly, who even knows if that's going to happen? Like at best, they could maybe revive him differently, but who knows? Who knows for sure? Not only that, but also DC has a ton of films coming out next year. They have the sequel to Shazam in March. They have the long awaited and very troubled Flash movie coming out in June. They have they have the Blue Beetle movie starring Miguel from Cobra Kai coming out in August. And they have the long delayed Aquaman sequel set for Christmas next year, which will probably be the death of the Snyderverse until they can just get their stuff together, which will probably be like the end of DC's current slate until they can just honestly get their stuff together and try to be coherent. So yeah, that was my little spiel on DC. And now let's talk about what to expect this weekend. This weekend will be this weekend we will have 3 notable movies coming out. Only one of them will be in theaters though. The first of which being probably one of my most anticipated films for the rest of the year, and that is Darren Aronofsky's The Whale, starring Brendan Fraser as a morbidly obese man who tries to reconnect with his teenage daughter, played by Sadie Sink of Stranger Things, before he eventually dies. Now, I'm a huge, huge fan of Brendan Fraser. Uh, Brendan Fraser, sorry. I met him at Comic Con a couple months ago, and he's just an utter sweetheart. And this movie has me really hopeful for a Brendan Fraser comeback, and maybe even an Academy Award win for him. So yeah, aside from Brendan Fraser, the film will also star Sadie Sink, as I mentioned previously, as well as Hong Chow, most recently seen in The Menu, Ty Simpkins, and Samantha Morton. The film will be released tomorrow, Friday, December 9th, in theaters, wherever you wherever you can, wherever you can find it. Also coming out this weekend, we have Guillermo del Toro's stop-motion animated adaptation of Pinocchio, which is somehow the third Pinocchio film to come out this year. I mean, we already had that crappy direct-to-video film starring Pauly Shore of all people. And we also had Robert Zemeckis' adaptation that premiered on Disney Plus in September, which the less said about that film, the better. But this film does seem to be promising. After all, it comes from respected filmmaker Guillermo del Toro, who previously directed the likes of Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth, Pacific Rim, and the Academy Award winning film The Shape of Water. And it features an absolutely massive cast, including but not limited to Ewan McGregor, Christoph Waltz, Tilda Swinton, Ron Perlman, Finn Wolfhard, Kate Blanchett, John Turturro, and Tim Blake Nelson. The film did get a very limited theatrical release. The film did get a very limited theatrical release last month in November. However, if you want to, see it, the film will be hitting Netflix tomorrow, December 9th. And the last film to look forward to this weekend is a film that exists, and that is the slavery drama Emancipation, directed by Antoine Fuqua, the director of Training Day and The Equalizer, and starring everyone's favorite person, Will Smith. Yeah. Obviously, Will Smith is now a pretty controversial figure, but maybe it could be good. After all, despite that incident that happened at the Oscars, Will Smith is a damn good actor, and he'll probably turn in the best performance that he could. So, if you're willing to look past the slap and give it a watch, Emancipation will be dropping on Apple TV Plus on December 9th, aka tomorrow. And it looks like that wraps up this week's episode. If you liked it, I suggest subscribing to WICR's YouTube channel for more content. And I will see you guys next week. Same bat place, same bat channel. Good night, everyone.